if there's such a thing as the American dream, then I live the American nightmare, baby. That's what I tell Europeans when they ask me about my life in the United States, specifically in Los Angeles, where I served a sort of metaphysical prison sentence. That's where I served my time, learned my lessons, and I've come out somewhat wiser. I'm not sure, actually. I don't know if that's true. A little bruised up, that's for show. And I am now a free man. A free man that doesn't believe in free will. Man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. Whatever, nerd. Arthur Schopenhauer's a nerd. Everyone, get him! Get the nerd! Maybe that's why he's sad all the time, being a big old nerd. FYI, nerd in my books is a compliment. So, the American nightmare. Yeah, that's what I tell people as a warning. Don't be fooled by the perpetual sunshine. It is not a spotlight for your terminal uniqueness. Tall palm trees, peppered about the place, are just radio towers in disguise. Pavements littered in the feces of the homeless, and most of the beautiful big titties that you see bouncing about the place are smoke and mirrors. They are paid for to lure you in and eat you alive. Yeah, like breasts from dusk till dawn. Sirens beckoning sailors with song that promise pleasure and knowledge beyond imagination. Lyrics that speak to your deepest desires and yearnings, creating an illusion of personal connection and understanding. Driven to madness by their enchanting beauty, you recklessly lead your ship towards them and subsequently crash into the jagged rocks. The ship splinters and sinks, taking you with it, and as you gasp for air, trying to survive the treacherous waters, the sorceress grabs at your ankles so you can drown quicker. And then they rape your corpse, chew your flesh, and laugh together as they count the cash from your soggy wallet. That's Los Angeles. Yeah, I just needed to set the scene for the story, an establishing shot. Los Angeles. Check out the painting Ulysses and the Sirens by Herbert James Draper. It's sexy and terrifying. La La Land? Tinseltown? If angels exist, then so do demons. And they do all their deeds in broad daylight over there. Yeah, my ex-wife Jordan, she had a better name for the place. The City of Shark's Teeth. When one row falls out, another comes to replace it. One in, one out. There's a bouncer at LAX. It seems to do the same to people, chews them up and spits them out. Next time you're at LAX airport, genuinely take a look at who's coming and going. At the arrivals, these young hopefuls with wide grins, backpack full of essential and a pocket full of dreams. They're here to make it the next big thing. All because some theatre goer in their tiny slum town in the backwood of Who Gives a Fuck once said, "You could be a movie star, kid." Gee, really, mister? You really believe I could make it in Hollywood? Well, you sure can, kid. Now get your passport and bring plenty of lube, because you're gonna get fucked hard on that casting couch. Yes, sir. A few bleeding buttholes later, and you see the sullen faces. Suckers at departures, trawling their luggage full of broken toys. Oh, counting their pennies to see if they can afford to buy water for their 15-hour flight, hoping that they won't be ridiculed when they return home after failing miserably. Oh, hey, Icarus, how was it? Oh, if there was such a thing as the American dream. Oftentimes, they return to the scene of the crime, like some victim diving into their abuser's arms. And, you write what you know. I played both of those roles. The hopeless romantic, blinded by the lights, and the disemboweled revenant who might have flown too close to the sun. And between those polar opposites is a story. My story, the story of amnesia. I keep banging on about. It's a narrative cliche, I get it, but it's what happened to me, and so I'll play the cards I've been dealt. A catalyst that has sunk its claws in me, and now I am like a skipping record, constantly looping back to the event as if I were in orbit. I'm weirdly unable to forget losing all my memories. This story perhaps unbelievable one, but I've got nothing to lose, so I might as well tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Yeah, recollecting bits of myself from the mirage of the past is as challenging as, I don't know, finding your underwear after a one-night stand at a hoarder's house. You you can forget about your favorite knickers because they've just been swallowed by someone else's trauma. Yeah, looking back, it's so weird sifting through memories of frenzied Hollywood parties with their cocaine amuse-bouche. Oh, don't mind if I do. Sauna rooms of marijuana smoke, ambiguous cocktails, and hidden doors. It becomes more and more difficult to remember what exactly happened, who I was, and whether or not that was even me. Because maybe I'm just a point in space and time, who knows? Each nanosecond takes me further and further away as I desperately attempt to cling on to details of a distant dream that leaves me abandoned in its wake. Just so we're on the same page, by the way, let's just make sure that we understand what amnesia means. It's a condition characterized by partial or complete loss of memory, and it can be temporary or permanent, and may affect a person's ability to recall past events, experiences, or information. And this can happen from various factors such as injury, trauma, disease, psychological causes, or substance abuse. FYI, I was taken to hospital on day zero. That's what I call it, day zero. Doctors did a drug test. They found nothing in my system. Boring. They did a CAT scan. There were no cats in my system either. What? Then what's this fur ball at the back of my throat? Oh, wait. I know what that is. Meow. So no drugs, no cats, and apparently nothing wrong with my brain. If you say so, Doc. I lost all my memories, and so when people ask me, how did you get amnesia? It's a hard question to answer. Like, I look at them incredulously for a moment, just with the blankest of expressions, just enough time to see if they figure out how stupid their question is. Like, in the hopes that my vacant visage is enough of a response. It usually isn't, so with comic timing, I then reply, I don't remember. Like, I have ideas, I have fragments, but since then, I can't even be sure, like, how much I can believe about the events before, because my body might actually still be asleep or a corpse somewhere in time and space, and this experience that I'm currently having might be some sort of hallucination, a rendering in simulation. My brain might be in a jar, as Descartes banged on about. Cogito ergo sum. No idea, mate. No idea. I don't speak Latin. Um, I have a theory that my memory loss is connected to a black hole somewhere in the universe. Stay with me. Stay with it. Let me explain. In space, there's stuff, right? Why, yes. I could be the next Carl Sagan. In space, there's stuff. That's not what he said. In space, what does he sound like? Anyway, planets, stars, etc. And they all have different weights, and that weight bends to space, right? The fabric around it. The stuff that holds the stuff in place. But if something gets really heavy, unbelievably heavy, it drags the fabric down and creates a well. And that well pulls things inside of it, which makes it heavier, giving it more of a gravitational pull, and at the bottom of this well is your mama. Oh, boom! Your mum joke! No, at the bottom of that well is a point called the singularity. It's the point from which nothing can escape, not even light. That's what a black hole is. And these regions in space, like reflections of the human experience. Like, we look up at the stars for answers, as if we're looking inside our own brain. Black holes might just be a deep depression manifested in visual terms. Did I go over some event horizon where all my data was deconstructed, and inside, or on the other side, is the birth of another universe? All my previously dismantled data is now the seed of the next. Universes in a cycle of giving birth to itself. Full circle. From the tomb of the womb to the womb of the tomb, we come, an ambiguous, enigmatical incursion into a world of solid matter that is soon to melt from us, like the substance of a dream. And looking back at what had promised to be our own unique, unpredictable, and dangerous adventure, All we find in the end is such a series of standard metamorphoses as men and women have undergone in every quarter of the world, in all recorded centuries, and under every odd disguise of civilization. A little snippet from Joseph Gamble. I'll likely be quoting from The Hero with a Thousand Faces a lot because it explores the monomyth, the common structures found in stories across different cultures, and I see many similarities with the experience I had, or I see what I want to see. I don't really know. Like, it's very difficult to know what is real. I have to tread so carefully. I have to find balance between reality and insanity. Only birth can conquer death. I don't know if that's true, but apparently the birth, not of the old thing again, but of something new within the soul, within the body social. There must be a continuous recurrence of birth. Palingenesia! Sounds like a Harry Potter spell. Palingenesia. Well, hopefully the sperm bank I recently visited will approve of my donation, and together we can repopulate after the apocalypse. Maybe. Um, Attempting to explain what happened to this once empty husk isn't just something for the prying eyes of people who briefly encounter me. They stare at me with morbid curiosity, like car passengers driving past the red and blue lights flashing near a mangled wreck on the motorway or freeway for the American pals. Like, we can't help but look at the black motor oil dripping into the pools of burgundy blood. Like, I have to find answers, not just for myself, but for people that inquire. Just but for me, so that I can return to some semblance of reality. You know, like I said, not just for myself, but for the people that I apparently have to share this world with. Unbelievable. I constantly alienate people with my recollections from the void. Yeah, there's something exhilarating about standing on the edge of a lofty building or a precarious cliff and looking down, hearing teasing taunts by some inner trickster daring you to jump. I've lost count the amount of times someone's asked me a question about the abyss and then regretted it. They leave my presence, horrified and gaunt, as if I ate their soul. Be careful what you ask. That's what I'm saying. If you meet me, be careful what you ask because you're gonna get an answer. I have to be gentle with people. I start with something simple, you know. Oh God, isn't it frustrating when you can't find your house keys and you have to leave? And there's always a nod of approval. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Or how about when you misplaced a remote control to the television? Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That's frustrating. What about when you no longer know where you put the Wi-Fi password for when your friends visit? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Your phone, your wallet, passport, headphones, a pen. Ah, pen, my kingdom for a pen. You know, everyone can relate to losing stuff. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, now imagine all of that, but instead of one little item like your keys or your phone, it's your name, your location, your age, your loved ones, your first kiss, gone. All the answers to security questions that are asked, you know, to help verify your identity when accessing a bank account or some other important site, gone. Your mother's maiden name, the name of your first pet, the name of your elementary school, the name of the town where you were born, gone. Your favorite book, your favorite movie, the make and model of your first car, I don't know, of any car, gone. Your favorite teacher's name, the city where you met your spouse, partner, gone. 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 Everything's all gone, and you are now nothing. Nothingness. The concept of gravity was gone. The concept of time, concepts, gone. The law of physics, puppies and kittens, chess, cheese, music, poetry, pottery, sex, fisting, evolution, religion, the internet, Tamagotchis, subliminal advertising, teachers, plumbers, I don't know, flaps, architecture, the Belgians, planets, neurolinguistic programming, xenolinguistics, love, death, phenomenology, epigenetics, strippers, hikikomori, hedgehogs, San Junipero, Kuleshov effect, ataraxia, synergy, donkeys, David Attenborough, Satori, dictionaries, Petroiska, determinism, the Big Bang, you, me, I, gone. And here we have a man, Homo sapien, lost without memories. In the wilderness of Los Angeles, he attempts to rediscover who he is. Not a bad impression of David. We're on first name basis. Dave, you coming out for some beers and watch football? No, I have to do a voiceover about penguins. Okay, I'll leave a beer for you in the fridge. Everything was gone. As I've told some friends, or projection of my subconscious with the masks of my friends, amnesia is the process of grieving not just your own death, but the deaths of everyone you ever knew. Is it any wonder I'm on antidepressants? Every day I wake up and it's like I have to reanimate a body in rigor mortis. And when people ask me, what do you remember from before? Ah, like I fumble and I stutter like someone having a manic episode trying to explain Frankenstein's monster to them. Because whenever a memory returns to me, it's filtered through this new version of me who remembers not existing, which is so far-fetched and ethereal. I remember not existing. I have the memories of a body behaving and reacting, but it was much later when quote unquote I returned to it. My ship was without captain. So when new information about my past self suddenly comes back, it feels as though these memories belong to someone else, someone dead. R.I.P. me. Oh, me! Maybe this podcast is a really long-winded eulogy. He was the best of all of us. Needless to say, it's really hard to date at the moment because nobody wants a zombie to take them to dinner and eat them out. Um, unless I'm wrong, ladies. Yeah, and getting a job. That's a challenge when you're a body void of identity. Hello, what's your name? What is a name? Get out of my office. I had a job at Starbucks in Burbank, California for a couple of weeks, and I enjoyed it. It was quite fun until a customer said that they could see the mental illness in my eyes. Oh, oh, okay. Uh, did you want caramel on your grande latte, you bastard? Looking back, it's kind of a funny coincidence that I worked in a place whose mascot is a mermaid and is named after a character who attempts to counterbalance the protagonist's monomania. Woohoo! Interesting. Maybe this isn't a city of shark's teeth, but the belly of a whale. A storytelling stage. The final separation from the hero's known world and self. Ah, I need a break. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast adventure. It's a little bit weird, a little bit mad, but I really appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying it. Like and subscribe if you do enjoy it. I would really appreciate that. And then also let me know if there's any pieces of art that you love or that you'd like me to explore, and share any comments and basically anything that you'd like. Just basically participate in the comment section below. I would love that. All right, back to the show. There are so many pieces of art that I could speak about to complement this storyline. So many movies, books, paintings, songs that explore and reflect the same experience I had. I weirdly almost feel more aligned to events that happen on the big screen than I do to people I share this reality with, as if I was quantumly entangled to characters on the other side, a thread keeping the multiverse together. Which is, I know it's weird, but that's how I feel. Like the story might be difficult to accept if you're incapable of comprehending. And I don't mean that to sound condescending. I'm simply suggesting that a caterpillar and a butterfly are the same and simultaneously different. Does the caterpillar lose the memory of who or what it was when it was disintegrated in the cocoon? A dragonfly nymph is aquatic, right? It lives its life swimming under the surface of the water until it's time to emerge, at which point it goes to the air where it hardens and expands and grows wings, and now it's capable of flight. A dragonfly could swim just over the surface of the water, look down at a nymph looking up at the insect, and although they're both looking at the same thing, they're now in such different worlds that they just couldn't relate. I don't know if you've ever heard of Frank Jackson's epiphenomenal qualia, right? It's a thought experiment with this hypothetical scientist named Mary, who lives in a black and white room, right? And she knows everything there is to know about color, every detail, every aspect about wavelength and how it interacts with light, etc., everything. But she's never seen color. So if she knows everything there is to know about something but hasn't actually experienced it, is she missing information? Well, yes, right? I suppose I wanted to share this caveat because the things I might say about the chain of events that led to my amnesia and the aftermath and the aftershocks of a life without identity is just far-fetched and surreal. It sounds crazy, and fabricated. And you know what? Maybe it is because I'm a storyteller after all, a trickster. So I could be making all this up. You'll have to choose whether or not to believe me. But I'll do my best to speak truth. Vivere veniversum vivis vici. By the power of truth, I, immortal, have conquered the universe. So today's piece of art I wanted to introduce you to is it's a canvas painting in the Louvre Museum in Paris by a German artist, Anselm Kiefer. The work is called Athanor, Athanor, Athanor. And Athanor refers to the furnace used by medieval alchemists to try and transform base metals into gold. And the term was used to describe spiritual rebirth. And it's another one of those pieces that, for me, just perfectly explains what I'm feeling, but it's just too ethereal if you can't quite connect. It's nymph dragonfly shit. So it's over 9 meters high. That's about 30 feet. And there's a man that is lying down on the floor, and he's either dreaming or dead. And a thread of light emits from his solar plexus. In yogic terms, that's where his life force is, his prana is stored. And weirdly, I have a huge vertical scar across my abdomen. I'm just looking into that, obviously. Like I'm just seeing what I want to see, but maybe someone stole my prana. Um, that's the new movie with Ashton Kutcher and Sean William Scott, aka Stifler. Dude, where's my prana? This thread of light rises from man, merging and becoming a star-studded cosmos above him, bringing to mind the microcosm and macrocosm of esoteric thought. In the words of the artist, Anselm said, okay, he's German, so maybe I should do a German accent. Oh man, if only I could do an impression of Henning Venn. That'd be. He's very nasally. I can't do him. I'll try and do Werner Herzog. Okay. I I am that man. Man is linked to the universe. Ah, it's terrible. Well, let me try. I am that man. Man is linked to the universe. He is in metamorphosis. He will be reborn. Ah, it's terrible. But it is a sad work, as he does not know why he is reborn. He does not know why he is reborn. Yeah, I feel you, brother. So, why did this thing happen to me? That's also like a thing. I just think shit happens. I don't think there is potentially a reason for things to happen. Things just happen, right? Chaos or order. So hopefully, we'll get to the bottom of this or the height of this. Which direction should I go? I will meditate and seek answers. As Einstein once said, the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. I hope today's episode provided enough of a foundation from which we can explore the catalysts that led to the amnesia and aftermath of the event. I may not speak about it in each episode, as I tend to go with the flow, and other things may come up which I want to explore. For example, in episode 1 of this podcast, I shared that eternity and I made the beast with two backs. And the next day, I was marching through London down avenues that I'd never ventured before, and I saw a statue of that very concept. If you enjoy this podcast on YouTube, you can see the image of all the artwork that I share. But the beast with two backs, that's something that I'd heard before in the Shakespeare play Othello. And that's how Iago describes the sexual relationship between the Moor and Desdemona. And this statue I saw isn't sexual, but it's the union between man and woman as one being. And I just appreciated it. It could be mere coincidence, but I'm starting to believe in those less and less. More on that in later episodes. So sometimes I will branch out to other works, other pieces of art, and other storylines, other people's storylines. Please, not just my own. Perhaps as a deviation, as an oasis, a moment of solace from my madness. Um, I'm actually off to California now to pick up the last of my belongings. I went back to my abuser. For the first time in my life, I will be reunited with all my belongings. I'm 37 years old. It's wild to think that that's the first time I'll be reunited with all my stuff. And I've also been invited to do a Q&A at the San Diego Comic-Con, which I'm excited about. So I'll tell you all about that when I return. If I return. Perhaps my American nightmare isn't over. Maybe all this is a dream. And if it is, what the fuck am I doing wasting my dream doing a podcast? Next stop, a strip club! Hooray! I gotta counterbalance that big old brain of mine with what I think is the best piece of the best piece of art. Breasts. Oh, breasts. My favourite. I'll leave you with something I hope might inspire you to take risks and nurture courage to go into what scares you. We have not even to risk the adventure alone, for the heroes of all time have gone before us. The labyrinth is thoroughly known. We have only to follow the thread of the hero path, and where we thought to find an abomination, we shall find God. Where we had thought to slay another, we shall slay ourselves. Where we had thought to travel outward, we shall come to the center of our own existence. Where we had thought to be alone, we shall be with all the world. I like that. Have a beautiful week. Be kind to yourself, and I'll see you next week. Or next time. Next time. Next time.